As it turns out, the music that was playing was actually emanating, coming forth from Our Lady. And this was not discovered until recently, that her mantle, her vestments, actually carry musical notes. This was discovered by Dr. Fernando Ojeda.
You're listening to Truth of the Spirit. I'm your host, Patti Brunner. Today we continue with the third episode of Our Lady of Guadalupe as we discuss the beautiful sound that we can discover through the Tilma. Now I'd like to introduce Juanita Salazar Lamb. Welcome, Juanita.
Welcome to this episode on the music on Our Lady's mantle. As you learned in a previous episode, when Juan Diego was walking along Tepeyac to go to church in the wee hours of December 9th, 1531, he heard some heavenly music that surrounded the hills. To him, it seemed that the birds were singing to each other from one side to the other, and it almost seemed like the earth itself, like the mountain itself, was responding and echoing back the music. Juan Diego identifies the music that he hears, because we can only relate what we hear to what we know. He identifies the music as that belonging to two distinct birds that lived in Mexico at the time. In fact, they still do. The species is still around. Now, we could also say that Our Lady continues to reveal herself. She presented herself to Juan Diego in person nearly 500 years ago, and she brought her original message in the codex that the indigenous could understand. She then brought her message to the Spaniards who lived in Mexico City at the time, the conquerors. They too discovered messages within her image. They discovered messages in that she brought them back into the church, or she brought them to Jesus for those who had not been a part in the church. And Our Lady just continues to bring us messages. As I said, this music was not even discovered until very recently. And so I would not be surprised if we continue to receive messages, to receive gifts from Our Lady in every passing year. As it turns out, the music that was playing was actually emanating, coming forth from Our Lady. And this was not discovered until recently, that her mantle, her vestments, actually carry musical notes. This was discovered by Dr. Fernando Ojeda, a noted scholar, mathematician, and an enormous follower, devotee of our Virgen de Guadalupe. He has studied the image and the history of Our Lady for at least 23 years. What he did, one of the things that Dr. Ojeda discovered, reinforced, is that the image of Our Lady is a perfect rectangle. It is symmetrical. A perfect rectangle, in order to achieve a perfect rectangle, you take the width of any measurement times 1.618, which is called the golden ratio. So if you take the width times 1.618, that results in a perfect rectangle. The original image of Our Lady on the Tilma of Juan Diego measures 105 centimeters by 170 centimeters, and that is a perfect rectangle. So then what Dr. Ojeda did is he thought to investigate, okay, so we have a perfect, it's called a golden rectangle, the golden proportion. And we have 46 stars. They are symmetrical, 23 on one side, 23 on the other side of Our Lady's Tilma. So what he thought was, okay, if this is symmetrical, what he did is he divided Our Lady's image, a copy of course, Our Lady's image, he drew a vertical line down the center of the image, the center of the rectangle of the image. Not down the center of her face, down the center of the rectangle. And then he drew 23 equally spaced vertical lines on each side of the center. What he noted then was that every star on her mantle and the center of every single flower on her mantle was aligned along the spaces of the vertical lines he had imposed over the image. He relied on his knowledge of mathematics, the history of mathematics, and he relied on Pythagoras's theory or belief that where there is mathematics, there is symmetry. Where there is symmetry, there is music. And Dr. Ojeda took this literally. So he started searching, what is the perfect musical instrument? So he consulted a renowned Mexican musician, Alberto Aguilar Portillo, who told Dr. Ojeda that the perfect symmetrical musical instrument was the piano. So what Dr. Ojeda did is he created a proportionally sized piano keyboard and imposed it at the top of Our Lady's image, on which he had drawn the vertical lines. And so he set, of this proportional piano keyboard, he set middle C on the center vertical line. And then he could follow the notes on the piano or the keys on the piano, and he corresponded then to the notes as they hit every star and the center of every flower. And this resulted in the music, the divine heavenly music that was emanating from the mountains, that was echoing from the hills on that first morning of December 9th. And I am very pleased now to bring to you an amplified melody with accompaniment that you will now be able to hear.
You've been listening to Truth of the Spirit. I'm your host, Patti Brunner, and we invite you to subscribe. It makes it a lot easier to come back next time, and you won't want to miss the fourth and final episode of Our Lady of Guadalupe, as it talks about the conversions that happen through the power of the tilma. And so be sure and come back and join Juanita again. Come back anytime, because there's more. With the Holy Spirit, there's always more. Amen?
This is the Padua Podcast Network. PaduaPodcastNetwork.com